Long before highways crossed the continent and cities rose where forests once stood, the lands of North America were home to hundreds of Native American societies. Each lived in an environment that could be unforgiving: burning deserts, frozen tundra, towering mountains, dense forests, and endless plains. Survival in these places demanded far more than strength. It required knowledge, passed carefully from one generation to the next, a deep understanding of nature, and a culture built around cooperation and respect for the land. For thousands of years, Native American communities developed ways not only to survive these harsh environments, but to thrive within them. The first key to survival was knowledge of the land. Native American peoples did not see the wilderness as hostile territory. Instead, they understood it as a living system filled with resources and rhythms. Every season brought opportunities and dangers. Communities studied the behavior of animals, the cycles of plants, and the movements of weather patterns. Over generations, they learned exactly when berries would ripen, when rivers would flood with fish, and when migrating animals would cross certain plains. This knowledge transformed landscapes that might appear harsh or empty to outsiders into places rich with life and possibility. In the vast Great Plains, where winter storms could sweep across open grasslands and summers could scorch the earth, tribes such as the Lakota, Cheyenne, and Comanche built their survival around the movements of the buffalo. The buffalo was more than a food source. It was the center of an entire way of life. Its meat provided nourishment through long winters, while its hides were used to make clothing, blankets, and shelters. Bones became tools and weapons, and sinew was used as thread. Even the stomach could be used as a container for cooking or carrying water. By using nearly every part of the animal, Plains tribes ensured that little was wasted, allowing them to survive in an environment where resources could be scarce. Hunting the buffalo was a dangerous and highly organised activity. Before the arrival of horses in the 1600s, hunters relied on skill, patience, and teamwork. Some tribes used a method known as a buffalo jump, where herds were carefully driven toward a cliff. At the right moment, hunters created noise and pressure behind the animals, causing them to run forward until they plunged over the edge. The fallen animals provided enough meat and materials to sustain a community for months. It was a strategy that required coordination, careful planning, and a deep understanding of animal behavior. Far to the north, in the Arctic regions of Alaska and northern Canada, indigenous peoples such as the Inuit faced an entirely different challenge. Their world was one of ice, snow, and darkness during long winter months. Temperatures could fall far below freezing, and plant life was almost non-existent. Yet the Inuit developed an ingenious system of survival based on the animals of the Arctic seas. Seals, whales, walruses, and fish formed the foundation of their diet and culture. The Inuit built kayaks and larger boats, called umiaks, to hunt on icy waters. These vessels were crafted from driftwood frames covered with tightly stretched animal skins, making them lightweight yet strong enough to withstand harsh conditions. Hunters travelled across frozen landscapes using sleds pulled by dogs, enabling them to reach distant hunting grounds. Clothing was carefully designed from animal fur, with multiple layers to trap body heat and keep out the freezing wind. Even the famous igloo, built from blocks of compacted snow, was a brilliant solution to the cold. Snow may appear fragile, but it acts as an excellent insulator, trapping warmth inside while blocking icy winds outside. In the deserts of the American Southwest, survival required yet another set of skills. Tribes such as the Navajo, Hopi, and Apache lived in regions where water was scarce and temperatures could swing dramatically between day and night. To survive here, Native American communities learned to use every drop of water wisely. Farming techniques were carefully adapted to dry conditions. The Hopi people, for example, practiced a form of dry farming that relied on deep planting and careful spacing to capture moisture from rare rains. Crops such as corn, beans, and squash became the cornerstone of life in the Southwest. These three plants, often called the Three Sisters, were grown together because each helped the others thrive. Corn provided a tall stalk for beans to climb. Beans added nutrients to the soil, and squash spread across the ground to retain moisture and prevent weeds. This agricultural system allowed communities to produce food even in challenging climates. Shelter also reflected environmental adaptation. In the desert regions, homes were often built from stone or adobe, a mixture of clay, sand, and straw that hardened in the sun. These thick walls helped regulate temperature, keeping interiors cooler during the day and warmer at night. Villages were often built on high ground or cliffs, offering protection from enemies while also catching cooling breezes. Meanwhile, in the dense forests of the eastern woodlands, tribes such as the Iroquois, Cherokee, and Algonquin relied on the abundance of trees, rivers, and wildlife. Forest environments offered many resources, but also required constant work. Clearing land for farming involved cutting and burning sections of forest, creating fertile soil for crops. Hunting provided deer, turkey, and other animals, while rivers and lakes offered fish and transportation routes. The longhouse became a symbol of life in these forested regions. Built from wooden frames covered with bark,
longhouses could stretch more than 100 feet in length and house multiple families belonging to the same clan. Inside, shared fires provided warmth and cooking space. Living together in these communal homes strengthened social bonds and ensured that resources could be shared during difficult times. Food preservation was another crucial skill across Native American cultures. Because winter could bring scarcity, communities developed methods to store food for months. Meat could be dried into jerky or mixed with fat and berries to create pemmican, a dense, high-energy food that could last for long journeys. Fish were often smoked over slow fires, while vegetables and corn were dried for storage. These preserved foods allowed communities to survive when fresh supplies were limited.
Mobility also played a major role in survival. Many tribes followed seasonal cycles, moving to different locations throughout the year. In spring, people might gather along rivers for fishing. Summer could bring farming and berry harvesting. Autumn was often the time for large hunts and food preparation for winter. By adjusting their movements to the rhythms of nature, Native American societies avoided exhausting the resources of any single area. Equally important was the deep cultural relationship with the natural world. Many Native American traditions emphasize respect for animals, plants, and the land itself. Hunting rituals often included prayers or ceremonies to honor the spirit of the animal that had given its life. This worldview encouraged careful use of resources and discouraged waste. The land was not something to conquer, but something to live with in balance. Knowledge was preserved through oral tradition. Elders shared stories, songs, and teachings that contained practical survival information, as well as cultural values. A story about a hunting journey might also teach young listeners about animal behavior or seasonal weather changes. In this way, survival knowledge was woven into the fabric of everyday life. Children learned survival skills from an early age. Boys might accompany hunters to learn tracking and weapon use, while girls often learned gathering, food preparation, and farming techniques. However, roles could vary between tribes, and both men and women contributed vital knowledge to their communities. These skills ensured that each generation would be capable of facing the challenges of their environment. Trade networks also connected Native American societies across vast distances. Long before European contact, goods such as shells, obsidian, copper, and pottery moved along established trade routes. These exchanges allowed communities to obtain resources that were not available in their own regions. Trade also spread ideas, technologies, and cultural practices, strengthening connections between distant peoples. Despite their impressive adaptations, Native American communities still faced constant threats from nature. Harsh winters, droughts, floods, and disease could disrupt food supplies. Yet, cooperation within tribes often helped people endure these hardships. Sharing resources during difficult times ensured that no one was completely abandoned to starvation or exposure. European arrival in the late 15th and 16th centuries dramatically disrupted these long-standing systems of survival. New diseases spread rapidly among Native American populations, while colonization brought conflict and displacement. Traditional hunting grounds and farming lands were lost or altered. Yet, many Native American communities adapted once again, drawing on their resilience and knowledge to survive even these challenges. Today, the legacy of Native American survival strategies continues to inspire researchers, historians, and environmentalists. Many modern practices in sustainable agriculture, wildlife management, and ecological understanding echo principles that Native American societies developed centuries ago. Their approach to living with nature, rather than dominating it, offers lessons that remain relevant in a world facing environmental change. Looking back across thousands of years, it becomes clear that survival in harsh environments was never accidental. It was the result of careful observation, shared knowledge, and a deep respect for the world around them. Whether on the frozen coasts of the Arctic, the dry deserts of the Southwest, the endless grasslands of the plains, or the thick forests of the East, Native American communities created cultures perfectly adapted to their surroundings. Their story is not simply one of endurance, it is a testament to human ingenuity and the power of living in harmony with nature. In landscapes that could easily overwhelm those unprepared for them, Native Americans built societies that lasted for generations, proving that survival is not just about strength, it is about understanding the world and learning how to belong within it.